You should be now able to view the user group agenda. We have 40 or so people on the call that joined us for this virtual meeting today. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, this user group is hosted by PowerSchool Solutions, which is a consortium consisting of Capital Area IU, Carbon-Lehigh IU, and Montgomery County IU. Each of these IUs have representatives on the call today. I'm Linda Beeler, Technology Support Specialist of Montgomery County IU, located in Norristown, Pennsylvania. We also have Dave Nichols joining us from Capital Area IU and Cheryl Peters joining us from Carbon-Lehigh IU, as well as other members of our teams that are listening in or able to contribute today. Dave and Cheryl, if you want to say hello, chime in now.
Good morning, everyone.
Hey, Cheryl, how you doing there? Good.
I'm doing great.
Good, good. Dave is actually producing this WebEx today, so he might be tied up at the moment, bringing our users in for the presentations. As noted on the screen, you can check out PowerSchool Solutions at ps-solutions.org or follow us on Twitter at PowerSchool SOLN. Additionally, you can always email us at support@pssolutions.org if you would like to get a hold of us, or ask a question, or inquire about any upcoming user group or academies. This session is being recorded and will be available at the pssolutions.org website for later viewing and listening. An email will be sent to all those registered when the recording is posted to the site and available. We are using the GoToMeeting tool for this presentation, and we'll be monitoring the chat area. However, if you have a question, please enter it in the questions box on the information window as opposed to the chat area. We'll answer the questions with a reply to all so that all attendees can see the questions and the responses. To view the questions and the responses, select the icon next to the X in the corner of the questions bar of the display window. And if you hover over this icon, it will display the words unlock pane from control panel. And this is what you want to do. So you want to unlock the pane, and by doing so, it will undock the questions window, and you'll be able to view both the questions and the answers in a larger viewing window than what's given to you originally, with the narrow window there. So that was just a little hint on how to make the question and answering viewing a little bit more conducive to the tool here. Okay, so to kick off this user group meeting, we have with us today John Paul Ramin, a PowerSchool Field Sales Specialist, School Systems. And many of our district's personnel already have relationships with John Paul from the support positions he provided to us in the past, and we know of his excellence in customer service. And we're happy to have John Paul with us this morning to speak to the future of PowerSchool. Welcome, John Paul. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Linda. Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Greetings from sunny Cleveland, Ohio. I am going to share my screen now, and once I do that, we'll see how this cooperates with presenter mode in PowerPoint. Is everyone able to see my slides okay?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, great. So I'm really happy and excited to be back working with Pennsylvania. I'm going to be back working with Pennsylvania for the short term and the long term, including after the sale of PowerSchool that you probably all heard about. And some of the things I want to accomplish today is really to give you the straight information on what that all means. There's a lot of rumors out there that would be good to dispel, particularly some our competitors are sending out there that are kind of mind-boggling. I also want to give you some insight into the roadmap for the PowerSchool product line going forward. We have a lot of exciting new features that are going to be present in PowerSchool in the very short term as well as the long term as well. Apologies in advance to Betty and Denise, who basically saw this presentation at the New Jersey Psug conference not too long ago. If you have to check an email or two in the next few minutes, I understand. So let me jump right into it. As you've probably heard, there's a lot of rumor about the sale of PowerSchool out there. I'd like to take that head on and tell you exactly what we're up to, what it means for you, and why what's going on is going to be, in my humble opinion, a positive thing for Pearson, for PowerSchool, and most importantly, for all of our customers. So the rumor, of course, one of them you may have heard already, the idea of Blackboard buying PowerSchool. I can assure you pretty confidently that while it is true that we are exploring the sale of PowerSchool, that Blackboard will not be the company that buys it. You probably heard a lot of speculation about why it is that Pearson might want to sell PowerSchool. So I want to make clear exactly why this is being explored so that you understand it fully and understand why it's a good thing. Pearson did announce its intention at the beginning of March to explore a sale of the PowerSchool product. What basically happened there as a first step is that PowerSchool has been carved into its own autonomous, self-managed business going forward. Part of that process, I kind of left what I was doing in the broader Pearson and rejoined that team on purpose, fully knowing that I'll be going along with the product as it is sold. And I'm really excited to be back working with the product I'm very passionate about. So PowerSchool now has its own management, its own sales team, its own support team, that all it does all day, every day is PowerSchool. It doesn't deal with anything else that Pearson does. From the perspective of the sale, it means that PowerSchool effectively becomes a plug-in for the company that acquires it. A company that acquires it will have it able to be self-sustained and self-managing. Why is Pearson doing this? Well, it's a lot like why Apple did this way back in 2006, for those of you who've been around a long time and remember what that was all about. You know, back in 2006, Steve Jobs had come back to Apple. He wanted to drop computer from the name, focus on iPods, iPads, iPhones, and anything you could put an I in front of. So having a student information system didn't really make a lot of sense for Apple. Didn't really align with that mission. Similarly, Pearson has been working over the past months to redefine its own mission going forward. And what Pearson wants to focus on is really things that impact the learner directly, things like content and assessment, things that help students understand functions and decode words. Student information system like PowerSchool does a great many meaningful, impactful things for a district, but it's probably never going to help a kid decode a word or understand a function. So having a student information system makes less sense for Pearson going forward. With that said, PowerSchool is a thriving, robust, financially healthy asset that Pearson has. And so it would make a lot of sense for Pearson to explore selling it for the revenue it would generate them to support their go-forward mission. PowerSchool remains the market-leading student information system with about 13.5 million students supported on that platform. That number represents more students supported than PowerSchool's next 5 closest competitors combined. We continue to have an extraordinarily high retention rate and a focus on investment in new features. I mentioned the idea of carving out this standalone business. There's some 450 strong of us that are going to be moving over to our new home in the new future. And we're all incredibly excited about being focused on PowerSchool going forward. So we, as I mentioned, are really excited about this, and I want to be as transparent as possible about how this process is going to play out and what it means. The opportunity to have a new home with an owner that's really strategically focused on what a student information system does is really going to be a great thing for our customers. So here's where we are today. As I mentioned at the beginning of March, we carved out PowerSchool as an independent business. To kick off that process, we sent out kind of a one-page teaser to about 80 prospective buyers of the PowerSchool product. Since that time, 52 of those 80 have signed a non-disclosure agreement to gain access to confidential information about the PowerSchool business. And if you think about that 52 out of 80, that's an extraordinary hit rate in terms of companies out there who are really interested in buying PowerSchool and you know, kind of making it part of their mission going forward. Where we are with that now is we're in the process of whittling down that 52 to the 8 or 10 most attractive potential new homes. And those 8 to 10 will go through, coming up in a couple of weeks now, a more lengthy kind of presentation from the management of this new PowerSchool business. Once those 8 to 10 have gone through that, it'll get down to maybe 3 or 4 or so who will go through a due diligence process. They'll pop open the hood, look at the code stack, look at the financials in gory detail, and from there that new buyer will be identified. I can't tell you for certain exactly when that happened. Probably will happen, I should say. Probably the earliest it would happen would be around the third quarter of this year, but these things kind of take as long as they take. So one thing we will do as this process plays out is keep you and all of our customers informed about how this is going. One other thing I would mention about these buyers, because it comes up a lot, especially maybe for some of you who used to have SASE, the odds of this new home being someone who has a student information system currently are awfully low. I wouldn't characterize it as impossible, but if you think about the other companies out there that have a student information system, probably the number 2 competitor in the market, a product called Infinite Campus, simply won't be able to afford it. I can think of 2 maybe out there that could, and so perhaps they might participate in this process. But for those of you maybe who are fielded questions worrying about being moved from PowerSchool to another system, if I think of those 2, they've got a base of about 3 million students. PowerSchool has about 13.5. So one can make a pretty educated guess about who would move from one system to the other in the unlikely event that it ends up being that kind of company. So are there any questions at this point? I think I might have my question windows somewhere that I can address before we sort of move on to the roadmap stuff, giving you some insight into where we're going with the product. I'm going to grab my question window here. It's a little hidden for me for some reason. Oh, I can see it now. I don't see any questions, so I'm going to move on and take us into the roadmap stuff. So one thing I want you to know about PowerSchool is we continue to grow, and growth is better than ever this part of the year. Our enrollment of new students into the PowerSchool platform compared to the first quarter of last year is up 9%, so that's a great thing. And we're being recognized, continue to be recognized by the industry for what the product does. Power Teacher was just nominated for the 4th time for Best Classroom Management Solution. And PowerSchool itself, broader PowerSchool, was nominated for the Best Education Cloud-Based Solution. That's all well and good, but one of the things that's very important when you're a market-leading product is to not rest on your laurels and continue to innovate and deliver new features and functionality to your customers. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We are focused on delivering a number of things over the coming months for our customers to continue to enhance their experience with the PowerSchool product line. One of the things that I know bugs people, no pun intended, are sort of little things in the product that might have been sitting in the KB on PowerSource for a while that you'd really like to see fixed. We have a former customer, Rayanne Cook, who leads our bug fix team, and she kind of takes it as a personal mission to go through PowerSource, find something with the oldest date she can find, and knock that out in our monthly maintenance releases. So you should expect to continue to see fixes for those sorts of things in our monthly maintenance releases. We have a whole dedicated development team that just looks at that. That's what they do all day and every day. Some of the things we're focusing on in the near term include enhancements to the API that our independent software vendor partners use. One of the things you'll see increasingly with our integrations with things like Schoology and School Messenger and TyNet, InfoSnap, among many, many others, there's some 132 of them right now, is enhanced two-way integration between those products. So that those companies can continue to continue to and expand upon their ability to write information back into PowerSchool. I'm going to go into a lot of these in a little more detail, so I won't go into too much, but making data, meaningful data, more accessible to you upon login is a focus. Enhancing the import-export capabilities of PowerSchool, enhancing the ability to, or making some improvements to the scheduling functionality, and a brand new revamped version of the mobile apps for PowerSchool that do some pretty cool things that are exciting to me as a parent. The big, huge project we're working on is a next generation solution for teachers. PowerTeacher has served our customers extraordinarily well. The technology it was built on when it was released in 2007 was really cutting edge and could do things that a web page couldn't do. But technology evolves, and so do we. And so we're focused on delivering an HTML5 based responsive design-oriented next-generation teacher platform that is going to take what PowerTeacher does as a starting point and bring it to a whole new level, especially when it comes around giving teachers access to actionable, meaningful data. So PowerSchool 8.3, which just dropped recently, featured a number of enhancements, 19 of those bug fixes that Rayanne works on that I mentioned, the ability to copy the district calendar to schools, saving you time instead of having to set it up school by school, and the ability, some enhancements around what the API does in terms of the data that it can send and single sign-on capabilities. We are hard at work working on some enhancements that you'll see in the June release in PowerSchool 9.0. I mentioned the idea of quick access to actionable information, and you're going to be seeing that in a feature that we call Quick Data. Quick Data is something we're going to start with in attendance, but the idea of it is rather than having you go to the attendance link in the left-hand nav and run reports to get information on important attendance data, like the number of kids who were absent or tardy or unexcused, or the number of teachers who have submitted their attendance, those become tiles that you see right when you log into attendance, and then you can drill into them, find that information, and work with it. So making it much easier for customers to find attendance. So going forward, you'll see this approach to presenting data for things like discipline and grades as well. We're going to be implementing some of the first steps related to that new teacher experience. sort of laying the groundwork for that in terms of how we handle standards and standards information for things like object reports, data access tags for all of the standards and object reports, making it easier to create the output, improving the import-export capability for standards, and the workflow around standards in general. That'll all lay the underpinnings for this new teacher experience that's going to be rolled out over the next kind of 12 to 18 months. Further enhancement to the APIs will be part of the 9.0 release as well, that write back that I alluded to. So if you think of some of our partners around attendance, for example, who swipe attendance using a card or maybe a biometric capability, for that to be instantaneously recorded in PowerSchool. The kid walks in the door, swipes the card, that's all updated, nobody has to do anything else. Just one example of the many different capabilities our independent software vendor partners will be able to take advantage of. TieNet is another great example there. Tying special education and PowerSchool functionality very closely together so that for things around state reporting, for example, all of that will become a one point of entry proposition over the long term. You don't have to enter any data in two places. Around scheduling, simplifying the calendar setup, the ability to delete student requests en masse, the ability to copy registration screen setups rather than setting them up individually by grade level, and a whole bunch more. Finally, I wanted to mention the kind of revamping of the mobile app. We're going to streamline the two apps that we have now into a single app that will present itself intelligently based on whether you are a parent or a student, so that also that the look and feel of that interface is very similar if you're a parent or a student. The thing that I'm really excited about as a parent is the idea of push notifications. Most of you who've downloaded an app from the Google Play or the iTunes Store, probably pretty familiar with when you install that app, it kind of asks you a few questions. It'll ask you if it can use your current location, and importantly in this case, it usually asks you if you want to take push notifications. That's exactly what this new app will do. And beginning as a starting point, what will happen now is if a student's final grade changes, if their A- in algebra went to a C+, that parent's going to have their phone buzz, and their phone will tell them, hey, Johnny's grade just dropped to a C+. Similarly, if Johnny decided to go somewhere else second period instead of the class he was supposed to attend, that phone's going to buzz and tell that parent, hey, Johnny didn't attend his second period class. Yes, there will be some administrative controls you can use for those of you concerned out there about helicopter parents. And yes, a parent who doesn't want to get a whole bunch of notifications, of course, can control those notifications in their app. But from my perspective as a parent, I really like the idea of not having to hunt and find the information that I really want to get out of PowerSchool. That PowerSchool will tell me that information as it takes place. There is one other module that we'll be introducing into PowerSchool in the June release. I have to leave that one out there as kind of a teaser, but there's a whole new feature we're going to be introducing into PowerSchool in June as well that I think our customers will be really excited about. Last thing I wanted to give you some insight into is some of the things that we're up to as a new independent standalone company that wants to get the word out there about who we are and why we're passionate about PowerSchool. We are the market-leading platform, and we are focused on really making PowerSchool the most open, interoperable product out there that becomes the hub of each and every district's technology ecosystem. We want to continue to be a product that people trust, but also that innovates and delivers new features to our product. We've been working closely with thought leadership groups, superintendent level conferences to make sure they understand who we are and what matters to us. And you'll continue to see us making a bigger splash in the marketplace about those kinds of things. Coming up in the very near future, you will see a new responsive design-oriented website for PowerSchool that's really branded about who PowerSchool is and what it's all about, and how our community of users like you are really what matters to us and what makes PowerSchool unique and special. We'll be taking the opportunity at ISTE, which is right in our backyard, of course, in Philadelphia this year, to really put that message out there. I'm really excited to attend that conference and make a statement to users locally and across the country about who we're going to be going forward. So that was my speed round presentation. I'd like to throw the forum open for any questions that we might have at this point. All right, I see a few questions here. One is about making the incident management system user interface less confident, or less complicated, excuse me. That is something that we definitely need to tackle, that I know that is important to Pennsylvania customers specifically. I am involved in discussions with our development team about enhancing the priority of that and trying to get it into the Scrum teams to work on. So I will keep you posted on our progress in terms of doing that. Status of deleting within database extensions, that is a high priority. I will double check this, but I believe that's also going to be part of the 9.0 release. I'm not sure why it didn't get into the slide deck, but I had heard just recently that deleting database extensions is going to be possible in the near term. It comes up in my personal world because of the demo database I share with my sales colleagues when I'm showing PowerSchool. We can't yet add all of the independent software vendor integrations we want to because they create custom fields and extensions, and we can't have that. So I have been told that that's something we're looking at as soon as this summer, but I will follow up on that and confirm. And is a different, easier solution being looked at for creating reports instead of ReportWorks? Yes, absolutely. I think if I go back to my slides, I thought that was on one of them. Look at this real quick. Yes. So one of the Scrum teams is working on, for delivery, not back to school this year, but for back to school next year, a totally revamped and enhanced solution for reporting, kind of a next generation reporting experience. The other thing that I missed on that slide, I kind of sped through it because I wanted to make sure Chris had the time that she needs. Totally changing the way that PowerSchool deals with managing contacts. Unlimited contact management and managing that differently than the way we do it today is another important thing that we're working on. And take one more quick look at that panel. Will ReportWorks continue to be supported? That's a great question, Kim. Let me answer it this way. We will never deprecate a product out of PowerSchool without a strategy to get anything you've done in one part of PowerSchool to another part of PowerSchool. So in other words, we would love long-term to be able to consolidate things like object reports, ReportWorks, reporting engine reports, and reports from a new tool into less functions, but we totally understand and appreciate that in order to do that, we can't take stuff away from you. So when we introduce a new reporting tool, you shouldn't expect the proposition to be we're turning off the lights on ReportWorks tomorrow. You can expect that we're thinking about that we know that our customers have developed reports in a variety of different ways in PowerSchool, and that if we're going to consolidate tools, we have to do it in a way that doesn't take stuff away from them. Other questions?
John Paul, this is Cheryl. I'm just going to ask a quick question. Is state reporting, do you know if state reporting is going to be handled the same way it is now, or is it going to be handled differently once the sale takes place? I think we're all kind of thinking the way it was when it was with White and Hammer and hoping that's not going to happen. So just if you have any information, that that would be great.
Well, that's a nice segue, I suppose, since Chris is next up on the agenda. It is my understanding that it won't change at all. We have carved Power School into an independent business for that very reason, so that there are no disruptions or changes after the sale. So unless Chris knows something that I don't, it should not change at all. We're not, in other words, exploring ways to farm out our state reporting. Chris does a wonderful job of addressing the needs of our Pennsylvania customers, and I sure hope and believe that won't change.
Thank you. That was just kind of what I wanted, a little bit of a reassurance there. So I know there's no guarantees ever. So, but just trying to speak a little bit to that. I know that's a big concern. So thanks.
You're welcome. Right. That is what I had. It sounds like Chris may still be in the process of getting logged in.
Hey, JP. Chris is on. I just kicked her over here to our panelists.
Okay, great. And just so you know, I probably won't be able to hang out on this meeting the whole time as much as I would like to. If you see me disappear, don't be surprised. But if any of you ever have any questions at all I can help with, hopefully you know how to find me. And if not, feel free to share my contact info. More than happy to help.
You hear me?
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Hi there. Yes.
Okay, good.
All right. Now, okay, there we go. Let me get rid of this panel. There we are. How you doing this morning, Chris?
I'm
This
okay.
is Linda. Yeah, we're catching you on Mountain Time, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so
that's fine. I actually started work really early this morning, but I had kind of spaced this meeting, so I apologize for that.
No problem. You're right on time. Thank you. And like I said, I know you're probably basically rolling out of bed and getting on this WebEx. So we appreciate you doing all that for us and lending us your insights into state reporting.
Yeah.
So next we have up Chris Wilkinson, Pearson Senior Product Manager, Regulatory Compliance. The woman behind all the changes that the state throws at us and tries to implement it as quickly as possible with her team. They do a fantastic job. And today Chris is going to give us an update on what's been happening and maybe what's to come. So there's always plenty to talk about, Chris, don't you think, when it comes to state reporting?
There is.
I've allocated an hour. I don't know if you need an hour or not, but we do have our next presenter on. So just kind of give us an idea, as things start to go along, where you think you might be with your presentation, and we can adjust from there. But we just did a best thought of time-wise. So take it away, Chris.
So I don't really have a PowerPoint presentation or anything, so I'm just going to kind of give an update, I guess, of what we're working on and where we're at, and just kind of let everybody, know I guess I would say the roadmap of what's going on in Pennsylvania. What I mostly want to talk about is all of the reports. We've been releasing quite a few reports trying to get caught up. I felt like we were a little tiny bit behind on the new reports over the last 2 years that have been announced, and there's still a few more that we're looking into tackling and trying to get done before the end of this school year. But most recently, and what will be released tomorrow, Friday, are 2 more new reports, and that is for special education exit. I'm not quite sure what to call it. It's the C4 submission. So that data is different than what you submit in December, and to have it be more user friendly so that you didn't have to basically search on the students that had exited and then run the current special education report that's in PowerSchool. What we decided to do was to rewrite the special education snapshot report and have it so that it has the logic built into it, and that it will only extract those students that have exited special ed. Along with that, I'm going to go ahead and show my screen here. I'm going to log into my test server that's actually set to Pennsylvania. So I don't know, can you see my screen right now? Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Okay, so let me get logged into my test server so I can show everyone. So as you all know, all of the special ed data is kept in SP enrollments, and when you enroll a student into a special ed program, that at the district level you have indicated is a special ed program, those fields show and are displayed. So we'll look at our sample student here. And so the other thing that the state did recently, it was in the manual, I guess we just didn't catch it, was they changed one of the codes. They changed a code, one of the exit reason codes. So right here, reason for exiting, that this moved known to be continuing is basically it's moved known to be continuing, moved within the state of Pennsylvania known to be continuing. So they changed that description, and then because of that change, we decided that it would be really good idea to add another field or another option where we gave it the code of 99. So if you want to exit students because they are leaving your school, so you do want to actually exit them from, I'm on the wrong one here, from your system, and you want to exit them for field 52, you'll still be able to do that, but we won't report number 99. We won't look at those students because you're not supposed to report those students. So that's kind of a change. Everyone will need to be sure, and it'll all be in the release notes, and basically it says take action and make sure that you have field 52 populated correctly. So now there'll be a new report called the Special Education Snapshot Exit Report. And it's not really a snapshot report either. However, the state does require that you have a snapshot date in the snapshot date field. So that makes it a little bit confusing, but on the report submission page, there'll be a place for you to put in that date, which I just found out this morning. The date has changed. In the manual, it says 7, I can bring up the manual because I think it says, you can see that I just always have the manual up, like all of you I'm sure do too. It basically talks about how the 2 snapshot dates are 12/1 and 7/17, and please pay attention. I think you'll be having a meeting later this month. I heard it's on the 20th, and they've changed the date. It's 6 something, 6, I don't know, somebody on here on the call might know. But what we've done on the report submission page, and I don't have that loaded on my test server yet, there'll be a place for you to enter in the date. And then that date will come out on, I think it's field number 35 on this template. So it's not really a date that's looking at, oh, who was enrolled on that date. It's just a date that's hard-coded basically into the report. But because we knew that this date could change from year to year, we're allowing you to put it in on the report submission page. And I hope that the label that I put next to this date makes it clear that you're not putting in a date, a snapshot date that basically goes out and looks at all the students that were enrolled on that date. The report's not doing that. The report is looking at the exit date on data entry date. So the report is actually looking at field number 34, date exited special education, and it's pulling those students onto the report. In conjunction with this, there's also, you are supposed to submit the student template, which you probably have been submitting all year long, but this one is a little bit different. It's the student template, but it has a snapshot date in it. So you're not running it as a snapshot report, the student snapshot report. You would actually run it, if we didn't have a special student report for this submission, you would just run the regular student report, not in snapshot format, but you wouldn't get the snapshot date in it. I guess it's a little bit confusing. I think you all understand what I'm talking about. So basically what the state wants is they want the student template, but they want a snapshot date in it. So we have developed a new student template for the special ed submission. And that student template will only extract the students that have exited. This is the SPED template, and it will include the special snapshot date that the state has defined. So if you look at the student template, we'll bring the manual back over here. I hope everyone can see this. So basically what you're running is you're running the student template, but they want a snapshot date in it. So, so I think I think I've actually memorized these fields. It's the fields 85, I do believe. Let me scroll down here. So normally on the student template, this would not be included. It's only on the snapshot template that this field is actually included. Let me get to it here. And I think it's 80. Let me scroll down. So it's 83. So field 83 on the student template is blank. But that's the report that they want you to submit for the special ed submission, C4. And so they want you to run the student template, but they want the snapshot date included. So we created a whole new report. It's going to be called the Student Template Special Education Submission Report. And it will include column 83, field 83 in the report, and you will be allowed to put that date in on the report submission page. So this is kind of a big change. The way the state wants you to report this data is, I think they did it last year, maybe the year before. They said, oh, we want you to report the end of the year special education exit report. They actually named it this year. If you look on your calendar, they refer to it as the exit report. So we thought it would just be better if we just gave you two reports instead of you having to make revisions to the file name and hard code the date in and all of this stuff. So those will be released on Friday. Previous to that, we've been working on getting everything in place for incident management, finally, once and for all. And we originally had all of the incident management reports done except for one, and some verification reports. They were still only written for log data. So now we have all, if you look at the discipline domain, we have all of the discipline domain reports written to look at incident management tables. And in addition, we now have the location fact safe schools report written, and we have some validation reports that go along with those that are also looking at all of the incident management tables. So now all of the information, all of the reports that you need if you're using incident management are in PowerSchool. And we are encouraging you to use incident management. I know that some people are still, some of the districts are still using log entries, and that's fine because the state hasn't made any changes to the log entry reports or to any of the discipline reports. So all of the log reports still work. And but once the state does change, if they do change any of those requirements, we will not be updating those reports. So I highly encourage you to start using incident management. Now, there's a couple custom reports that our team has created that basically when we started to move to incident management, a lot of people were like, well, we don't like this. We can't search on incident management. You know, that data like we could with log entries. So as some of you know, or I don't know, maybe some of you might have not even checked this out, we've added some customizations specific for Pennsylvania, but now I think other states are actually going to use it, that help you manage your incident management data better than possibly you could have if we hadn't provided these. So one of those reports is under, well, it's not really a report, it's a function. If you go to special functions and you go to search incident management records, this allows you to search, do a student search for incident management data. And this is, I mean, we're very excited about this. I don't know how many people are using it yet. I think as they learn how to use it, more and more districts will start to use it once you totally entrench yourself into incident management. There wasn't really a way to specifically search on student incidents with the way that PowerSchool comes with incident management. So we have added this, and I know per the focus group, I think there's maybe some more options that we do need to add to this, but it allows you basically to search on student incidents, make the students your current selection, and then you can do different kinds of reporting. You can extract their data, you know. And incident management is not. And so that is why we added this functionality, because there wasn't really a way to search on student data in incident management because it wasn't really centric that way. I see that I just got disconnected from VPN, which means I'm disconnected from my test server. So I'm going to try to connect to VPN again. It might disconnect me from the call. So let me just try and see what happens here. It only lets me stay logged on to VPN for I think 12 hours or something like that. Then it disconnects me. So hopefully it won't. You'll still be able to hear me when I. Okay, can everyone hear me now?
Yep, it looks like you're back now.
Okay, great. Sorry about that.
No
Okay,
problem.
so this new functionality we added, and I just want to point it out to you. I know, not all of you are using incident management, but again, be reminded that we're not supporting any of the discipline reports that are looking at log table data. This year, we started only supporting incident management data and those reports. The other thing that we're working on and that will be released, I do believe, on the 22nd of May, we added, it's quite difficult to be able to get expulsion or suspension letters with incident management data. So the focus group said, those are required. We have to do an expulsion letter. We have to do a suspension letter when that happens with the student. And you can use report works to create those letters. However, they're not, they don't give you all of the information that you might need for your letters. So we have developed a way, and we've already released the setup portion of it. And so I don't know if all of you on the call have seen that, but if you go to special functions, and you'll see here where we have this PA expulsion suspension letter setup. So this is the first thing that you would have to do, would be to come here and set up your expulsion suspension letters. And obviously you can give the title of the letter whatever you want, the name whatever you want. From the drop down here, you can pick, this is pulling from the incident management setup. So you can choose either state remedial programs or state sanction valid values. And when you do that, you get your state codes or any codes that you've actually entered into incident management within the state sanction valid values area of incident management setup. So if you wanted to make a detention letter or an in-school suspension letter or an out-of-school suspension letter, you can do that. You can choose the action code. You can type what you would want to have in your opening paragraph. You're allowed 500 characters, what you would need in the closing paragraph, and then the signature that you want to include in the letter. This allows you to have a superintendent signature or a principal signature, and you can create as many of these letters as you want to. After you get the letters created, there's actually going to be a report, and we've got the report done. We're doing beta testing right now with the focus group, and they have given us some really good feedback. And so we're probably going to go back and take some of their suggestions into consideration before we release it. But what will happen is that you'll actually go to System Reports, to your State Reporting Submission tab, and under miscellaneous, there will be a report that you will run to produce the letter. And when you choose that report and the options in that report, one of the options is to choose the letter that you want to print out. And it will create a PDF letter. So one of the suggestions that we've already gotten is, can we have the setup of the letters be on this page along with running the letter on the letter report on this page? And so we're looking into doing that to see if we can actually add that here. I don't know if we can, because this report submission page has very specific requirements behind the scenes of the kinds of reports that you can add onto here. Another one of the big changes while we're here on this page is, probably some of you have noticed, is we completely reorganized the report submission page, and that's partially due, it really needed to be done. The reports were kind of all over the place, and so now this mirrors your PIMS manual and the domains on your PIMS manual. So in your PIMS manual, so each of the domains on here reconcile the PIMS manual and the reports that go within those domains. And for the reports that aren't in the PIMS manual, like verification, validation reports, verification reports, we created a category for those. So we have the miscellaneous category, and we also have a verification category. And then also under legacy, because we actually have quite a few reports that are still listed under legacy that we haven't removed, simply because you either need to still run them and they look at an old setup, or all of the incident reports you can see here, all of your discipline reports, they're listed under legacy. And then also, as we rewrite reports, those are what we refer to as SRP reports. And so in some cases, we have some reports that are SRP, and then we also have it, we still have the report as a reporting engine report for whatever reason. So we basically had to rename all of the reporting engine reports to include RE. So whenever you see this RE, that's what that means. It's a reporting engine report. And eventually, all of these RE reports will be rewritten in SRP format. But right now, you have a mix going on. And as we get through that project, you'll see these RE ones either be moved to legacy or just be removed from the page entirely. So that was another really big change that we recently implemented. I think this was released a couple sprints or a couple releases ago. And obviously, as we release more and more reports, those special ed ones that we're releasing, they'll all be under this special ed domain. So I think it makes it much more user-friendly, the new design for the report submission page. At first, you might go, where is that report? I know that's what I do, but I think it will make it a lot easier for you. The other big, probably, thing that I should talk about is data migration. So you've all received a tech note about, a tech note came out from CORE announcing that you needed to be on version 8.3 by July, and that they would not be supporting anything prior to 8 after July. And then you've already also received a tech note saying that you need to be on 8.3 for state reporting data migration purposes. Now, for most of you, I'm sure that you already are becoming familiar with database extensions, child tables, extension tables, standalone tables, and all of that, because we're pretty deep into that in Pennsylvania. Actually, I guess you can pat yourselves on the back. I'm not sure if that's what you want to do or not, but as a team, we kind of do that on occasion, because Pennsylvania was the first state to actually start using database extensions. So 2 years ago, when the state announced the staff student course template, that report was going to require the use of virtual tables. But at that very same time, CORE had introduced database extensions. And so management told us, you have to use this. You cannot use virtual tables to accommodate the need for one-to-many types of data. So that was actually the very first database extension table that was created, was for the staff student course template. And as you all know, that report changed and now is called the staff student subtest template. But that was kind of the beginning of us adding what we call standalone child tables and data and extension tables. So I'm going to go to page and data management here. And then I'm going to go to data export manager. This is the best place, aside from your data dictionary, that you can see all of the tables that have been created. And so when you come here, you can see the core tables that have been created, and the core tables are tables that either do not have a prefix or have a prefix of C. And then the state reporting tables that have been created are the tables that start with an S. So all of these tables here are all of the tables that we've already created. Some of them are what we call common in that they've been given to every single state, so all the CRDC tables have been, you know, provided in a release, and every single state has those. And then you can see on my test server, I migrated user. I already migrated on this data set the user, and those will start with the U. So when you might start doing your data migration, depending on how you do it, yours will always start with the U and be prefixed with a U, and all the state reporting ones will always start with an S. Now, at the end, the table name at the end, the X is for extension table, and I know this is probably I'm repeating myself, but I'm finding that it doesn't do any harm to repeat myself because this is so new. Anything that ends with an S is a standalone table, and anything that ends with a C is a child table. So then a lot of people will ask, well, why would you do a child table versus a standalone table versus an extension table? So if you think about the need for data, like a one-to-many kinds of data, that requires us to use this child table structure. A one-to-one type of data, and I'll show you some examples of that. Then we will use an extension table. And for standalone, often that is for the kinds of tables that might hold setup data in it. Like an example of that would be in district setup where your exit codes are, you know, those are in a gen table. But let's just say we wanted to put all your state course codes in a table in PowerSchool that you could manage. Then we would do a standalone table in district setup, and we would probably seed it with all those course codes, those SCED codes. And then if the state added new ones or changed them or whatever, you would be able to manage those. And we are actually thinking about doing that, just to kind of let you know. You know, you would be able to go in and manage those instead of us managing those lists for you. So an example, a perfect example of a child table data, or one-to-many, when we say one-to-many, would be at the section, on your sections right now, that data that you have to fill out for the staff student subtest. So I'm just going to show you what that page looks like. I have to change my, let's see if I can move this thing out of the way. There we go. Change my term here. See if I get some sections. Seems like I go through this every time on this test server here. My apologies. I'll try it again. Here we go. Okay, so as you all know, for your staff student subtest, when you have additional teachers that are working with the student, we've added this extra page here. And when you come down here, additional staff-student instructional relationship, when you click on that, you're actually allowed to create a one-to-many kinds of record. So you could have a whole bunch of records for this student hooked to one teacher, or a whole bunch of records for a teacher hooked to a student. And that's what we refer to as one-to-many, and that requires us to use a child table, this child table structure. In the past, we would have used virtual tables. So as a customer, I knew immediately if I got to a student page and there was a button on there that's new and I created a record, I knew that developers had developed a virtual table to make that page happen and to make that data happen. It's kind of like a way to keep track of your data historically, or there's a lot of different reasons why you need to have a child table. So this is a perfect example of why we would develop and use a child table. And again, it's basically taking the place of a virtual table. One-to-one data is simply when you choose a student and you go to a student page, such as the student template tab. All of the data on this page is one-to-one. You have the student, you have the data, you click submit. It doesn't, necessarily keep, make a record where you click on new and make another record. That is an extension table. So the data is in its own table, and it's referred to as an extension table, and the parent table is the student table. Okay, so there is a project upcoming where we're going to be migrating all of your data, all of the state custom field data, from where it is right now, being clobbed into the student table, into an extension table. And we have been asked to have that completed by December 15th. And you will be playing a part in that project. So I wanted to just review that with you. Basically what's going to happen is we're going to identify which fields we want to migrate, and the fields that we'll be migrating for this project and have been asked to have done by 2015 are those fields that are the one-to-one kinds of fields. So just your basic custom fields that are in the students table, sections table, courses table, those tables, that they're the ones that we will be migrating. And the process that will be put into place will be that you will get you'll get a tech note, and there will be information in a release note. So we will basically be sending out a tech note first, giving you a heads up, and then when a state reporting release is released, within that release there will be a config file. This file will be part of your database structure, and in that config file it will include the fields that need to be migrated. And then you, the customer, will go into PowerSchool and actually perform the migration. And so you can do that whenever you want. It's not going to impact any of your reports. All the reports will still run the same. It's just going to migrate the fields and all of the data in the fields into extension tables. So we've already got all your extension tables created, because we've already been using, that functionality. And whenever we've had to add a new field, we had to either create an extension table and put the new field in it, or we had to, if we had to add a new field, we added it to the extension table that we already created. So if you go back to system on your own servers, when you go back and get on your own servers, you go to system, page and data management, you'll see these extension tables that we've created, and when you do the data migration for the state fields, they'll end up in these tables. So if I was to go to your extension table right now for students, which has already been created, when we start migrating all the fields, there's over 300 student fields, they'll end up in here. You'll come here and you'll see them all here. Now, you won't see them in DDA. You will see them in DDA, but the data won't necessarily be kept there. You won't be able to see it there anymore. You'll have to come here to manage your data. You're going to have to start embracing this new way of managing your data. And so we are going to take it kind of slow. We're not going to say in a release just have you migrate all of your student fields, for example. We're probably going to do them in batches. And so for each state reporting release, obviously there will be an announcement, there'll be directions in your release note, you know, a directive saying the config file's there, here are the fields that will be migrated when you run this, and then when you go to page and data management, what you're going to do is you're going to go to custom field or manage data. I'm trying to remember which one it is. Custom field data migration is where I think. Oh, and you have to be in district setup to do it. So let me switch here. And for those of you that have already done your user fields, you've already kind of been through this process already. So let me switch here. Page and data management. I'm trying to remember which one it is, but I think it's this one. No, it's this one, custom field data migration. And what's going to happen is that right now you can see on this server where these still need to be migrated. Once they've been migrated, they're not going to show up in this drop-down. So each time we release a config file with specific fields that need to be migrated, when you come to this page, they will show in the drop-down. There'll be, you know, something in here that will show, that will be an indication of what you need to migrate. And for state reporting fields that you're migrating, we have built into the system a very robust data validation migration tool. So before you migrate your data, you'll have the opportunity to clean it up before you migrate it to the new fields. When you do core fields, the only validation really here is that you can't have data more than 4,000 bytes, whatever you want to call it here, in a field. And so when you run this migration and you run the migration report, the errors that you might see is if you possibly have a whole bunch of characters in a field, then you'd want to go clean that up. That's the validation that core has provided. But what compliance validation, because we knew we had so many fields that would need to be migrated, our validation before you run your migration is much more robust. And you'll be able to clean up date fields, string fields, yes, no fields, all that kind of data. You'll have the opportunity to clean up. Now, and that is why we're not going to, you know, give you all 300 of your fields to be migrated at once, because the cleanup of that data would be a pretty extensive project for you. So we're just going to do it in batches. And it'll all be in your release notes. It will all be in tech notes. So you'll in the next few months, you'll need to pay extra special attention to those tech notes and to those release notes. Now, it's going to be up to you. You can migrate these whenever you want, but our task as a compliance team is to get the config files with all of the fields that need to be migrated released so that you can finish up the migration at your leisure, but we need to have that all done by the end of 2015. And again, it will all be very documented. You'll know exactly what fields you're migrating. That will be in the release notes. And then it'll be up to you to come here and migrate it. Now, there might be an occasion where there will be a report, a new report that we write that will only look at fields that are in an extension table, for example. And in that case, you would get a tech note that would say you have to migrate these. Okay? Otherwise, the reports are going to still map and look at both places, if you've migrated or if you have not. So the big change that you'll see if you go to DDA or DDE, and for those of you that have ever done this, and so let's say you're in the students table and you want to look at data, some of your data that you've populated for state reporting purposes. And so you just go to list view and you click on one record. Right now, all that data, as I use this terminology of clobbed, all that data is being clobbed into PowerSchool. All of this data right now is what we call being clobbed into PowerSchool. And when you move to database extensions, you won't see it here anymore. This won't be here. You won't see your data in here like this anymore. You'll only be able to see it on page and data management. When you choose the drop down and you choose the fields, of the data that you want to view. It won't be clobbed anymore once you go through the migration process. The other thing that changes the minute you migrate that you want to pay special attention to, and that I recommend that you do for your own migration purposes, so when you start to migrate your own custom fields, is right now when you go to system, and I think on my test server you'll see that you don't see this, and you come to custom fields and screens. Once I migrate my user fields, if you recall and you look on your servers, if you haven't migrated, you'll see where it says student fields, and you can click on it and you see all your student fields. Well, once you migrate, that is not here anymore. So before you migrate your user fields, I recommend that you come to this link that you don't see on my page that says student fields. I would copy all of your fields, and all the state reporting fields are on this page. Student fields are on this page as well. I would put those in an Excel spreadsheet, and I would start planning how you're going to migrate your fields. You can do the customer mass migration of fields, or there's a custom way that you can migrate your own fields. And that's up to you how you want to do it. But once you migrate, that link goes away. And you might come here and go, wait, where did all my fields go? Again, you have to go to Page and Data Management, and that's where you can see them. So on this server, if I go to Page and Data Management, and I go down to Data Export Manager, and I go to my user, these user ones right here, I can see all the user fields that got migrated. Here they are. Okay? So I guess your takeaway from this is just start learning about database extensions, child tables, extension tables, standalone tables. Become familiar with that. I know that there'll probably be additional training from the IUs on this. I think there is some training being offered at PowerSchool University on this. And then on my statewide calls that I do every single month, I try to cover parts of it, especially if we've added a field or we've added a new database extension table or a new standalone whatever. I point that out to everyone on those calls. I'm just kind of giving you a heads up that this is the new way to manage your data in PowerSchool. And it's definitely going to be the new way to manage your state data, because this is where all your fields are going to be. Okay? Any questions about that? I guess if people want to pose questions, they can do that. Okay. So that's, just kind of a really high-level overview of the data extension or database management going forward, what's happening in PowerSchool, which is a big, big change. Probably the biggest change I've ever seen. So you'll want to become familiar with all of this. Now, as I mentioned, we pretty much have extended every table that there's possible to extend, or we've made child tables, standalone tables. Part of the reason why is because of early warning, the early warning dashboard. So probably you're seeing around in PowerSchool some fields that you hadn't recognized before, or pages that have been customized, and for example, attendance, final grade setup, all of that is in preparation for the big project that we also have going on for the early warning dashboard. It's right now that project is on hold for a few months, but we will be picking it back up. I don't know exactly when we'll be picking it back up, but we will start working on it again eventually. Um, uh, we've gotten, I think, all of the fields that we needed for the early warning dashboard data added to PowerSchool. I think there's some staff fields that maybe need to be added still, but all the other fields have been added. And so when you come here and you see these strange tables like this ACT one, that's attendance. That's the attendance table extended. And the early warning system required, and I'll show you that you map your attendance codes to the early warning dashboard codes that they have. We've already gotten 7 of the reports done. There are 17 reports, and so we're just continuing to release the work on those. But as I said, right now the project is on hold. But we do anticipate that we will be picking that up. I would say within the next 6 months, I'm hoping. So if you come here and you see these kinds of like, well, what table is that? Those, we extended quite a few tables here for that project. So if you, I'll go over here to school setup. If you happen to notice, we've tried to make sure that we documented on the page that it was for the early warning dashboard, which is optional. But for example, here on attendance codes, when you click on an attendance code, you'll see down here, early warning system attendance code mapping. So we extended the table, the attendance table, and we added this one field, attendance code long. And we've added the mouse over functionality so that you can see the name of the field and the table that it belongs to. And then you're allowed to map to the state required code for the early warning dashboard, whatever your code equates to. So you're going to see this kind of thing happening all over the place in PowerSchool, basically. And what that means right here is that we've extended it, we've added a new table, and we've added a field to that table. And for the most part, these kinds of different tables that we've extended are for the early warning system dashboard data. So that's another really large project that we're working on. It's just that it's on hold right now, but we'll be picking it back up. And I would say that we're more than halfway through it. So we just need to finish up the rest of the reports. As I mentioned, there's 17. And often what the state will say is that the reports are the same as the PIMS reports that you have already, and they're not. They're called the same, they're named the same, but they're not the same. The requirements are different. So there'll be, the plan will be that when you come here to system reports, there'll actually be an additional tab for early warning system with the 17 reports on it. And you can run them individually and upload them to the early warning system dashboard, or there'll be new functionality which we're very excited about. We call it one click, where you'll click once and it will run all 17 reports consecutively or at the same time, and then the output will be a zip folder that you can actually load just the zip folder with all the reports in it to the early warning system dashboard, because they have implemented what they call web services. So they've added a way for you to upload all of your reports into a zip folder. So we're working on that functionality where you can run each of the reports, one off and upload that data, or you can do this one-click functionality which will zip up all the reports and then just load that zip file into the early warning dashboard. So that's pretty much it. There's a lot going on. There's still some more, a few more state reporting reports. We've done the Federal Act 16, I think it's called. We've added that field. We've added that report. There's the LEP, some LEP data. We're not going to be doing school choice or FCS. There's some reports for that. If you look in your manual, that were announced, that some of those new reports were announced last year. Some of them were announced this year, but they're already discontinuing the SES and school choice ones. If you go out and look at what the state, has announced for the new changes for next year, they're already discontinuing that data collection, so we're not going to be doing those reports. But there's some LEP reports that we are going to be working on. So, and trying to get that done before the requirement to load that data into PIMS. So that's basically where we're at. And obviously, the state's coming out with new requirements, and I did take a look at those. And even though they're saying there's not a lot of substantial changes, it appears to me that it looks like there's going to be a fair amount of changes for next year. Possibly even some new reports are going to be required just based on the data that they want. So we'll be working on that as well. So that's pretty much it for state reporting. If anyone has questions.
Thanks so much, Chris. Yeah, thanks so much, Chris. That was a really great drive-through and valuable information. We can never see it enough. No, we can never see it enough, especially with the extensions and the process that we're going to have to undertake to move some of that CLOB data. But it's good to see it again, and it looks like it will be. The more we see it, the more comfortable we get with it. And state reporting is such a changing environment, as you said, that there were the new requirements for the 15-16 school year that I think just came out yesterday. So more changes on the way, but we thank you and your team for all that you do. Let me just check the questions area and see if there are any posted. There are a few. So you can read along if you'd like, Chris. It's over in the chat window or the questions window. So if you open up your screen, if you do the slide out on the right, it's probably on the right for you, and then click on the questions plus sign. You can actually undock it by.
Is it in the chat area?
It should be in the questions area. And if not, I'll read them to you. But yeah, there's questions, and I can undock it by clicking the icon next to the X, and it removes it from the dock, and then you can see the questions and the answers. But I can read it to you. It says,
I got it.
Do you see it?
Yeah.
If we use the course option to enter the staff student subtest data collection information, how is previous year's information going to be tracked? So
if we use the course option?
So I think what they're talking about is you choose a course, and actually, and that's where you do the course setup for whether that course would be a trigger course for a subtest, like a Keystone. Algebra 1 would be a trigger course for a Keystone. So is that information going to roll over when we, right now the courses are pulled into Power Scheduler.
Exactly.
So is it going to be rolled over year to year and that information retained, aligned, that course, kind of like it is for the course setup currently for anything else? There are state codes that the course is tagged to that roll forward.
I need to check on that, because now that you can say these courses are used for this year, there's another table that's keeping all of that. So I actually have that on a list of, like, how do we keep this data, roll it forward from year to year, the state data, the stuff, the indicators, and I actually had someone else ask, like, what about all my staff student additional teacher setup that I did? Is there some way to roll that over from one year to the next so that we don't have to set it all up again? And so we're looking into that, like how to copy that over. The other thing too is I'm actually looking into possibly a different way of data entry for staff student subtest data. I think it's pretty user friendly right now, but there's been a lot of scenarios that have caused people to kind of have to figure out how to set this up. Different ways that people manage their schedules and things basically have an impact on the staff student subtest report and you managing your data. So as a team, we're actually looking at possibly another way to do your data entry for that. So to answer the question, yes, we're looking into a way to copy, so that all that stuff, there's a way that you can just keep that on your courses from year to year. And then also possibly how would we copy over, if you wanted to, any additional staff information that you added to a section, how would you copy that over from one year to the next? So we are, that's like kind of like the next step, I think, with that report, actually. So we're looking into that.
Right, and the section number would change from year to year.
Right.
So there's
actually managed another state a while ago, Massachusetts, and they have something kind of similar. It's a different report, a teacher assignment kind of thing, where they have to add on to the sections the teacher assignment, what she's proficient in, all this stuff, and their FTE and everything. And I noticed with that, when they use the functionality of copying their master schedule over from one year to the next, that all their state data moved. Now, I don't know what tricks the developers did to make that happen, but I do know of another state that's doing that, and actually that state had asked, is there a way that we can say yes, copy it, or yes, don't copy it? So I just need to look into that functionality and how that was working and see if that's a possibility to apply to what, as an option for what you guys do, so that you don't have to do all of that over and over again, thinking that, for those cases where it stays the same, why not, have it stay the same? So we're just looking into the possibilities of how to do all of that.
Well, that's good. Yeah, thank you for that answer. And then the next question is the major update for state reporting for May still set to come out this Friday?
Yes. And the one that comes out this Friday, there have been some updates, some report fixes. Right now, we're seeing a lot of issues come in for the CRDC. And we are actually currently working on what we think is a big need, is a validation report for the CRDC, and we're actually anticipating that that will be released on the 22nd, because a lot of people that run the CRDC report and they look at all this aggregated data and is that right or is that wrong? And there's not really a good way to validate it. So the developer that's actually worked all this time on the CRDC reports pinged me on Friday and said, can I create a validation report for the CRDC? And I was excited that she wanted to do that. So it looks like she's going to be able to get those reports done really quickly, and we'll probably be releasing those on the 22nd. So those will really help you with the CRDC. Now, I thought the CRDC window had opened, but I learned yesterday on a call that it's something like a soft opening or something, and that people that have loaded their data, it's just like sitting there waiting to be processed. So I'm not sure what's going on with the CRDC submission window, or if any of you have successfully been able to submit your CRDC data yet. But we continue to work on any bugs that are reported on the CRDC to us, and then, like I said, we're going to do the validation report. And there's, some other, obviously we always have something that we've either fixed or that we need to get released. On the 8th, there will be a release, and there will be some new reports, the 2 new special ed reports, and then some critical bug fixes that we knew needed to happen. The one thing that I didn't get done, and my apologies, is I do not have the state reporting guide updated with all of the new reports in it. And that is because I'm completely rewriting it and reorganizing it. and I'm hoping that that will be released on the 22nd. So I don't have any of the new reports that we released in the last 3 or 4 months in that guide. The staff student subtest reports in there, but these other reports that we've been doing, I haven't got those into the guide yet, because every time I looked at the guide and went, where should I put this report? What order should I have it in this guide? I'd kind of get stuck, and so I'm reorganizing it. It will, it'll be organized by domain, and so I have to add categories for domains and put the reports within those domains to the guide, and it will be much more user-friendly. Excuse me.
Okay. Chris, there was a question from earlier in the session today, and it's dealing with, we didn't get it addressed earlier, and the question is, what is the status of deleting within database extensions, for example, tables and fields? So this was, when John Paul was presenting, and it was probably specific to the core database extensions. However, do you know the answer for the state reporting database extensions, or just in general the core information?
Right. So state reporting, database extension tables, child tables, all of that, we are a customer to core, much like all of you are. So we're using functionality that core developed. And I know right now there is not a way to delete extension table data, except you can delete child table data on an import. So you can delete data that's in a child table by using Data Import Manager if you're on version 8 or greater of PowerSchool Core. I have heard that this issue has been brought to the attention of Core, and they are working on it. So because our team was the first team to start using database extensions, we've actually, been playing around with it for quite a long time, and we reported that as an issue. The first time I wanted to delete something, I couldn't do it. So reported that, and I have heard that Core is working on that. And, but I don't have an update on that. I don't know when that would be released, what release that would be in for Core. But I do know that they're doing some work on the structure and the user, the use of that functionality, the Data Import Manager and Data Export Manager. So, and I know that that's an issue. In Virginia, which is the other state that I manage, we did an extension of the SP enrollments table there. Well, actually, we've done it for you guys. And so your special ed, there's one field, that Act 15 field, that's in a database extension table. And I discovered if I delete the whole program, that it deletes all the data in the extension table. So that's one way to delete data, I guess. If I delete, anything that's in an extension table, then the data gets deleted, entirely. The record and everything is what we discovered. We were playing around with that the other day. So, so we know that's an issue. We know that for child table data, you can import in to delete. It's kind of different thinking, but there's a way to do that, and I think I've demonstrated that on the statewide calls. So basically, you just have to have the ID of the record that you want to delete, and then all of the headers of the fields that are in that table have to be on your import template, and they are blank. And then you import that in, and there's a checkbox that says anything that's blank, do you want me to delete it? And you check that box off, and it deletes everything. So
Right.
But
So you have
that's
the
only
structure in place. The structure in place, and then you choose that option to update with blanks, essentially.
Yeah, and
right.
I just noticed the other day that for extension tables, the X tables, you don't get that option. So I just noticed that the other day. I mean, I'd only tried to delete data in a child table, so I never tried to delete data in an extension table. But when the extension tables that I looked at, I wasn't even given the option to do an import for deleting. So my understanding is that Core knows about that and they're working on it.
Okay.
Okay.
We have 2 more questions, and then I think we'll wrap this up. We'll wrap up this portion anyway. Looks like another question just came in. So the next question is, can the state updates be ready any earlier than 7 p.m. Eastern? At least have the release notes posted by Thursday of the week, and update is coming out. So that's more of a request.
Yeah.
Is there any way we can formally request that by opening a ticket or
Yeah, I
raising
would,
that up?
you could formally put in a ticket. I don't know about, we're pretty crunching and down to the deadline when we do these releases, and it pretty much takes, just so that all of you understand the process, the week before, the Friday, so if you look at this calendar this month, actually May 1st, code for anything that we were submitted, code had to be baked. So everything had to be done on the 1st. And then the whole next week, management or the people on compliance are packaging up those releases and doing what we call builds and getting them ready to be released. And it pretty much takes that whole next week, to get that all done. And I've noticed a couple months where we'll start getting the tech notes early on Friday, which is kind of like, whoa, they got it done fast this time. And then sometimes I notice that we're clear down to the deadline on Friday. And that's just simply because it's quite a big process getting all of this update, all these customizations, packaged up and sent out to all of the states. So just so that all of you understand kind of the process, it's actually done for me the week before. I can't really add anything to what's getting released after the week before. So if you look at your calendar this week, we actually have already started on the next release. So everything had to be baked and done on the week before. So yeah, the release notes, those have to be done and ready to be published by Wednesday. So there's a possibility that maybe, we could get release notes out before so that you kind of had a heads up of what's coming out. Yeah, that's kind of the process. So I don't know if the time of day could be changed or what, but definitely create, an enhancement request, a ticket for that.
Okay, thank you. So now the next question is, in preparation for next year, what do you/Pearson recommend that we use for the start and end dates for next year? So I imagine they'd mean, the start and end dates for the full school year, the term.
Oh, okay, so this is probably because the state has different kinds of start and end dates. The state says the year starts on July 1st, right, and ends in June 30th. That doesn't really matter. Just go with your calendar, whatever your school calendar is, because we take all that into consideration. So, for example, I know this has come up with special ed. So if a student exited, school ended on June 15th, but you put the exit date for your student in a SPED program as June 30th. Well, the report's going to look at that and know that. We're not looking at your calendar in those kinds of cases. We're looking at the state calendar and picking up those students. So just still go with your regular calendar. I mean, when I was on the implementation team, I never really encouraged anybody to pad the front of their calendar because I felt like that kind of wreaked havoc on a lot of things. And I always said, well, you can pad the end of your calendar for snow days and things like that. And I kind of probably would still say that same thing if I was still implementing. However, I know that how PowerSchool, the design of PowerSchool has changed substantially since I was on the implementation team, and I know that it's okay to go ahead and pad the front of your calendar if that's what you need to do, And I know a lot of people do that because of the grade book or for whatever reason. So that's fine. We just try to work around all of that. So just set up your calendar based on whatever, you know, your district calendar is.
Okay, good. The final question here is, can you put together a list of knowledge base articles the districts should review for database extensions and tables? Place them in order that should be read. So I think the thought here is that we can go out to PowerSource and we can see a number of articles. We just don't always know what sequence they were entered in and what sequence we should sort of use as tools to guide us in this process, which is, you know, fairly complicated.
Right.
Is there
right.
a way that we can kind of drill out the articles that are most useful and the ones in like almost like a sequence in which to review them?
Yeah, I can make a note of doing that and maybe have something in the release notes. So when we start doing the actual migration, you know, when we release a config file, and that make sure that like the order of the information that you should read and everything be in the tech note and then also in the release notes. I know on the release note that went out for the 8.3, so the reason why we're saying that you need to be on 8.3, often there's more than one reason. And in Pennsylvania, there is going to be more than one reason that you need to be on version 8.3. So already we know CORE is saying you need to be on CORE version 8.0 by July, and that was the financial impact. And that's why I think there was this hesitancy to you know, they wanted to give districts time to be able to plan and budget for that update, because that did require, you know, more, a beefier server, whatever you want to say, to run 8. So now CORE has, you know, drawn a line in the sand. You must be on 8 by July. So it's not going to cost you anything financially to update once you're on 8, to update within 8. Do you see what I'm saying? So compliance said, okay, well, get on 8, and then you're going to need to be on 8.3. And this is why, because of migration, because of the tools that we're giving you to migrate your data. So if you don't want to migrate data yet, you don't have to be on 8.3. But to migrate state custom fields, you'll need to be on 8.3. And so there was an additional tech note that went out about on 8.3, and there were links to documentation in there about data migration. So I will continue to include those links in my documentation that I send out, release notes and that sort of thing, and I'll put them in the order that I think that you should, you know, go read up on. Also, I can't record every single state meeting that I have, because there is kind of the fear sometimes that those recordings will be shared sometimes with competitors and things like that. But I will try to always record those state meetings when we're talking about data migration, and I'm demoing how you'll do it. And that recording will be out on PowerSource. So I don't record all of those meetings, but I will record when I'm demoing migration. So I think that will help everyone. But I will do those, I will somehow get that documentation to you on the order of, you know, go read this one, and then this is another good one to read, you know, all of that stuff. So.
Fantastic. So there were 2 comments that were entered in by Doug McPeak. Thanks, Doug. It was in regard to the end dates and you know, the various kind of start and end dates that we record in PowerSchool, and you know, whether it's a special education, whether it's regular ed, that sort of thing. And as Doug mentions, the special program has the exit date from the program, and that's why districts can go with their regular calendar. And that's all true. That's the way it's managed. Additionally, Doug mentions that there's a way to extend the calendar either earlier or later than was originally defined, Many tech people know how to do that, but it's always better to go through support if you ever need that done, because there are a number of records that have to be aligned on various tables, not just that calendar table. And
Right.
so to have everything aligned, it really needs to be done thoroughly. Additionally, keep in mind that if you change a start date to your district or to any, well, I guess, yeah, it would be at the district level, it's going to affect the start date that you would use for running your state reports. So you would need to use that earlier start date in order to make the reports run correctly. So there's a, kind of a big picture to consider here when you're moving dates this way or that way, start or end dates for your district.
So one of the things that we've noticed, I mean, all of your old reports have like a start date and an end date when you go to run them. And in some cases, I mean, people get really confused about those, like what date should I put in here? And depending on how they've managed their data, they might have their students' entry date actually be way before maybe even school starts, or they might have it be way after, or, there's all kinds of different scenarios out there of how people are managing their data. And one of the things that we've noticed is a lot of these older reports, even though they require a start date and an end date, really what they only need is you to select the year that you're running it for. And so as we rewrite these reports in SRP, you'll notice that some of them already don't even have the option to put in a start date and an end date, because the report's going to have that logic built into it, and we just need you to pick the year that you're running it for. So I think that was kind of the old way. I mean, in some cases, yes, it's a snapshot report, and you need to put this date in, kind of thing. But when the state refers to snapshot, often it's not really snapshot, is what we've also discovered. So we just need to kind of cipher through all of that, and it's much, much more user-friendly just to require you to pick a year to run the report for than put the start date and end date. So whenever we can do that, that's what we'll be doing when we rewrite all of these reports, because we're finding that we have to add a lot more directions to the report submission page on exactly what should you put in here in this date. What should I put for my start date and what should I put for my end date? So we're aware of that, and we are trying to, as we rewrite the reports, take a look at that before we just add those options in. But that's good to know. Yeah, you don't want to just go, it's called initializing your calendar. So when you go to change your years and terms, say you had a bunch of snow days and you didn't pad your calendar, so now you need to extend your calendar. When you go to years and terms, it'll let you do that, but it doesn't sync up everywhere else. It doesn't change your calendar. And if you call into support, they do what they call initialize your calendar and help you change all the other fields date fields that you need to change in PowerSchool. So it's best to call support.
Very good. You know what, Chris, I think we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you very much for all of your input, and I think I'm just reading through some of the chat now. Looks like there's been a little bit going on while I was reviewing questions. We're going to put John Paul back on for a few minutes here to speak upcoming webinars. Thank you very much, though. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Hey, John Paul, you're back up again if you wanted to share a couple links with us here.
Oh, sorry. I had my microphone turned off. Now you can probably hear me. Yeah, this won't take more than 30 seconds. I want to make sure that I don't impede on Phoenix Learning's time. I just wanted to let you know that if the information that I shared in my presentation resonates with you and some of the questions that you get from your superintendents and the like, that they have an opportunity to hear pretty much the same information straight from the horse's mouth. I have a series of webinars that Oliver Rieford, our Vice President of Product and Marketing, will be conducting. He's already conducted some of them, in fact, but there's a couple more coming up, one on the 14th and one on the 20th. So if you've got that superintendent who really wants to understand what's going on with PowerSchool, you can feel free to direct them to that. And I'm going to drop a link to this registration page into the questions panel, so you can just copy and paste it and forward it as you need. That's all I had.
Great. Thank you so much, John Paul, and thanks for your earlier presentation. It was very informative. We want to extend a thank you also to our next presenters from Phoenix Learning Systems. They've been very, very patient as we've gone through the other parts of the Psug meeting today. As in the past, we have featured a PowerSchool compatible vendor, and today's highlight is Phoenix Learning System, an education solutions company who offers technologies complementary to PowerSchool. We have Willie Alberti and Richard James with us to provide an overview of their product. Good morning, almost good afternoon, Willie and Richard. Thank you so much for your patience.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning.
We can hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you for
Richard,
the time this morning.
Richard, before you get started, I'd just like to offer one quick answer. Someone asked earlier about some resources for learning about the custom fields and database extensions. There's a brand new document that was just published on PowerSource. That article is article number 74196. And that has a link to all of the different documents, and they're in a pretty nice order for someone to get a good overview and learn through the different pieces there. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. All right.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you for your time. I hope we still have most everybody on. I know state reporting is everybody's love of their life. What we'd like to do this morning, we have lots of new products, but we have one in particular that we're very excited about. That is our school intel system. And so I thought this morning that we're going to just give you a quick demo overview, and then we will post on our website a more detailed PowerPoint, basically a PDF that will take you through lots of its options and what it does. And then you're welcome to always email or call us. All that information is on our website. I'm going to give you my direct email here. Let everybody copy that down. I am rjames@phoenixlearning.com. And you're welcome to ask for a more detailed demo later if you'd like. We'll get started. Our school intel system is a fully embedded plugin that we put into PowerSchool, and it is a comprehensive reporting tool. Our goal is to enhance PowerSchool to the point where the older reporting tools that we're all used to are all enhanced. So, and I'm speaking particularly about form letters, report cards, object reports, PHP or SQL reports that you may have, all of those things. Our goal is to replace those with a much better tool that you than anybody can use in your district. And so I've got a demo box here, a training box that I'm going to log into. And I'm just going to quickly go through some of our best features because I know we're a little short on time today. So School Intel is found in the System Reports area. So you'll notice that when I go there, we've inserted a new tab. And so everything that deals with School Intel is found there. When School Intel runs, we embed it in the frame here so that you haven't left PowerSchool at all. And we have a series of built-in report templates that deal with students, attendance, grades, staff, health, lunch, and then we've got the all-powerful custom area. And so I thought I would just quickly show you some of the reports and how you can make one and what all of the options are. Over on the right-hand side, I have shared reports that other people in the school have shared with me, and then I have my saved reports. One of the big features of School Intel is all of the reports are more templates rather than reports that you run. You're all familiar with PowerSchool's built-in reports. Ours are similar, except that we save your settings so that when I run an absentee report every day or twice a day or 3 times a day, however often that is, I don't have to re-enter the information I want for the report every time I run it. Once I run a report, it saves that report. And so I've got several pages worth here. I have 3 pages worth of reports that I've run, which kind of act like a report queue, but much more interactive than the traditional report queue. And you can see some of the reports that I've run today or last week. They're all available here to me. And so I thought I'd just do a quick one so you can see how easy reports are to produce. I'm going to just simply go to the Students tab here, and I'm going to create a birthday list. That's kind of a simple one to do. And so I'm going to put in some criteria here. I have several options. I can, as the query part of my report, I can tell it who I want the report to run for. This is a fairly simple one. It's a birthday list. But I can use the last student that I chose. Actually, I'm going to jump back out to PowerSchool, and I'm going to grab a group of students. These are my seniors who are about to graduate. And then I'm going to go back to School Intel. Back to the birthday list. And so you'll see that Betsy Burnham was the last student that I chose as a user. I was working on her earlier. And then I have my 64 seniors that I just chose. They are my current selection. I could also use any of my saved selections that are available to me as a user in PowerSchool. Or I can build a query on the fly. And so I don't have to know SQL. I don't have to know any of the codes. I don't have to know those things. I can simply add more criteria here. For example, by default, it says I want active students. Their enrollment status must be active. If I click the plus sign, it gives me another search criteria. And so I could say, I'm searching for students who have a birthday this month. I can pick what format I want the birthday to be in. I'm going to do it for the whole month, so I'll just ask for that. And when I click Submit, runs the query and then pulls the predefined data back, which is the student number, their grade, their name, and their birthday, and it's sorted by birthday. The student numbers are links, and so if I were to click there, it would take me to that student's record in PowerSchool. The group as a whole is also a selection. If I click on students, it would take me to the group functions menu in PowerSchool. I have options that I can not only see this report as you see here, but I could save it. I'll just call this my current month birthday report. So it's listed here now in my reports. I can click on it again and see the HTML version. And I have some quick tools right here. If I need this in PDF form, I can click there and it will open in a PDF. The PDFs have logos, which can be your specific logos for your school or district. They have watermarks that you can design the watermarks to put on those reports. They look fantastic. I can ask for this report in Excel, and it's not a tabbed limited file like we're used to. It's a true Excel file with headers, column widths, formatting. All of those come pre-built in. I could ask for a traditional comma delimited file. I can also choose to share this report, the results of the report, with other people. So if I click on the share button, I can again download to my desktop, and I have a few other file types that I could use. Awesome feature is I could email this report right here from within inside PowerSchool. I can just simply type a user's name, email address, or multiple users. I can give it a message if I want, and then I can choose what format I want to send those people. And when I click submit, then it sends that email to them. I don't have to copy and paste. I don't have to print. I don't have to do any of those things. I can share this report with other people in my district. I can choose to share internally, and you can set up groups to be able to share with other administrators or teachers or other people in my security group. I can also share this report externally, which means I can give this information to people who don't even have a login to PowerSchool. And I'll turn that on, and then I'll talk about maybe that feature here in just a minute. That becomes one of the most powerful things that I can do. And you'll notice that I can share the PDF version, the Microsoft Excel version, any of the versions, including some status board things, which I'll talk about here in just a moment. Probably the most dynamic feature here that's different from our traditional reports there in PowerSchool is I can schedule this report. Now that I've built it, I can click on the schedule button and I can run it manually like I have been, or I could tell the computer I would like to run this weekly. And then it gives me options starting today. I would like to send every week on Mondays and Thursdays at 8 o'clock a.m. And I'd like that to go by email, and I can address several emails here, tell it that it needs to be Excel format or a CSV or a PDF, and submit. And then every week, automatically on Mondays and Thursdays, those people get the results of that report. I'm not going to do that at the moment. Now, this is a very simple report, the birthday list. The power comes in being able to do automatic reports for attendance or grades or staff. But you also have the ability to do custom reports and build any type of report that you want. We have several templates here. If you have a SQL reporting PHP server, then those automatically populate here, and you can have an unlimited number of reports. But I have SQL reports as well. I thought I'd show you a really quick one and show you how easy it is to do that. So I'm going to create a brand new report. I get kind of this basic query template. We have an editor here that colorizes everything for you to help you do that. I'm just going to take that out. And I have a couple queries here that I'm going to show you. So this is a really short one, however very powerful. So this is just a little SQL. And I paste that in. This is going to find how many class periods my students have missed this year in my school based on an activity. So these are school excused absences. So I can either write the query here or copy and paste it and submit. It runs the query and comes back with the results. This is a very short report. It only has one data element, but it's very telling. My students this year, it's May, it's the middle of May, my kids have missed almost 1,600 class periods because they were off to some school-sponsored activity. And I can save that report. And it puts it into my saved area, and I can run it anytime that I'd want to. I could send that to people. I can get it in PDF form. It's really short. But what I'd like to show you is that's a perfect example of a report that could be on a dashboard. It gives me small, detailed information. Again, all these reports can be done this way. I'm going to actually share this with myself. I'm going to share it externally. I'm going to send it to my iPad. I'm going to send it via email. And I'm going to send it in a status board table. Email's been sent. Now hopefully I can get my iPad screen up here on the monitor. Can somebody tell me if you see the iPad screen?
We do see it.
Anybody there?
Yep, we can see it. It looks good.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to open my email here. There's my PDF that I got from the first report that we did, the birthday list. I'll show you what that one looks like. So it just sent me a PDF. Oh, actually, it's an Excel document of that information. And we're just waiting for the other one to come. So I'll talk about this really quick. There's an app at the App Store. It runs on iPad only called Status Board. And it allows me to plug in reports from School Intel, so I can send them right from my PowerSchool window, and it will chart or graph those charts dynamically for me. And so these were just reports, and I'll show you some of those in the PowerSchool window here in a moment. Let's see if my email came. Not yet. A little slow. But we'll come back here for a moment. I've got several reports here coming from School Intel. They're dynamic. They run constantly. They're updated immediately if I change the report or the data changes in PowerSchool. And you can see that I have some based on gender, ethnicity. I have my birthday list in the upper right-hand corner. Today's absences and tardies, that data is live. As the day progresses, those numbers go up. I have attendance summary information charted in the middle with the colors. In the bottom left-hand corner, I have a list of my seniors who are failing classes. It's May, and I'm really worried about them, so I have them here constantly so I can keep an eye on them. Let's see if I have my email yet. No, it doesn't look like it. I don't know why. Maybe I typed the wrong address. We'll come back to that, I guess. I'm just going to close that. So those reports you were just seeing were all reports that I've built here. For example, here is today's absences and tardies report. It's a bean counting number report. It lists the grade levels in my school, how many absences and tardies today. And then when I chart that information on my iPad, then it uses a charting tool and colorizes it. One of our newer features is the ability for me to run two reports and merge that information together. So I have a couple of those here in my shared area. I have created a SQL query report that does the following. It finds students who, at the moment, have a large number of missing assignments in the gradebook. So these students all have 5 or more missing assignments. It shows me that over here on the right. It also gives me some demographic data about the student and the school. So I have the student's number, their name, telephone number for the school, the principal for the school, some pronouns, the student's mailing address, city, state, and zip. I have today's date. I have mom, the guardian information. I have all of that in this query, and I can run this query. I can refresh it. This was run 3 days ago, but if I click refresh, then it'll go out there and find more kids that have missing assignments. Oh, great! They've all cleared their missing assignments report. Or school is getting close to end there. Let me look at the configuration for that report. It's just a SQL query that goes and finds those things. I'm gonna backdate it here, and maybe that'll help. We'll go back to last semester and see if that works. There we go. So I've got students here that still have those missing assignments, and this report's great. I could send this to an assistant principal or the counselors, and that's great information for them. But what I can do is I can also write a form letter. I have a template here, and this is the result of that template. Let me show you what it looks like to build it. This becomes a very powerful tool. Think of form letters in PowerSchool, but it's much more dynamic. The ability to change the text and insert the fields is quite incredible. So if I wanted to insert, for example, here I have today's date. That was one of the fields in my original query, which I've told it right up here. I want to run the prep report, and so that prep report becomes then a list of fields that dynamically show up here for me to insert in my merge letter. And so I want the date there. And you see that I've inserted the parent's name. I'm going to take that out and I'll put that back in. I want the guardian first name and the guardian last name. And I want that bold. And so I can use HTML bolding if I want to, or we have a new low markup language that lets me put in 2 asterisks around what I want bolded. And you'll see that I have formulated a letter here that has the school address, the principal's name, the school telephone number, pronouns, so that it really is a dynamic letter. And so when I run the letter, I see the result here. I don't have to go run the report somewhere else. I actually see what the first kid is actually going to look like. Addressed to the parent. It has how many missing assignments they actually have, and please call us if you have any questions. If I click the PDF button, then it will produce the letter for all 55 kids who had outstanding large numbers of missing assignments. And you'll see there that I've got logos for our school and watermarks, and then I have this letter for every single student on that list. So I could produce letters that find kids who have excessive absences or tardies and produce the letters. I could create, actually I've got a great one here I'm going to show you. I think I have this one already saved. Let's see if I can find it on my list here. These are missing students who do not belong to a single sign-on account. So these are students whose the parent has never signed up for PowerSchool. They don't have a login. And I've got 2 pages worth of students at my school who haven't done that. So I could quickly produce a form letter, missing SSO accounts. I'm going to come here to custom, and I'm going to create a text merge report. And I'm going to use the missing SSO account report. And so dynamically now I can include the student. I could say, dear parent, we notice you have not yet created a login to PowerSchool for your student. And I'll insert the student's name there. And I could go on and give them information about what they need to create an account and where to go and all of those things. But I'll submit that. And so it produced this small letter that actually inserts the student's name, and dynamically it's only done it for kids who don't have an SSO account tied to them. I want to make sure that I'm giving you all the info.
Want to show the student merge report, perhaps, Richard?
Oh. If I go back to the student tab, I have that same ability to do the on-the-fly merging with any student field. This report is built in, and I can produce any type of letter that I want. I can select a group of students, like this was my seniors that I last picked. They are still here, so I'm going to do this for them. And then I can simply produce a note. Maybe cap and gown fees are due today for graduation. And so I could do that. I could mail merge a letter on the fly, a little note. So I could say, dear student, Friday, tomorrow. Actually, let's insert the date. I think that's one of my fields. So when I start a tag, just like I do in PowerSchool, every field becomes available to me that's tied to that student. Core extensions, custom fields, real fields, plus all the school fields for this student. Today's date is listed there. So if I type date, you'll see that that's one of the items. So that will insert today's date. Friday, May 8th is the last day pay for caps and gowns for graduation. Please verify your name for your diploma. Diploma. That doesn't look right. That doesn't look right, but that's okay. And so I'm going to insert their names here. I'm going to make this bold, star, star, and I'm going to insert their first name. I spell first right. Middle name. And last name. And then I could go on and ask them to do other items. If you want your name differently on the diploma, please see your counselor. When I submit that, then it produces the first letter for me. Her name is Sierra Marie Admonson. And if I click the PDF button, it would produce that note for every senior that I had selected. And you could use our letterhead. Coming this summer is the ability for me to email this PDF to each student or to each parent right from the system, which makes it really dynamic. And you can see I could produce report cards. I'll be able to produce transcripts, all those things, and then have all the tools that are available to me to send, save, share with other people in the system. Are there any questions? Hopefully I can see those come through. If they do. I think we're good. Hopefully that gives you enough information to look at. And if you're interested in seeing more, make sure that you let us know. I'll bring our website back up here. It's just phoenixlearning.com. And there's a contact area where you can send us an email. There's also products. You can actually click here and read a little bit more about School and Tell, and I will post up a presentation for you. It'll be over here by the data sheet that you can download and have to show other people. Thank you for your time. I know it's precious at this time of the year.
Yeah, no, but thanks for hanging in there with us, and
Sure.
thanks. It was a great demo. Again, your contact information is rjames@phoenixlearning.com.
That is correct.
Yeah, this is great, and we will be seeing more of Phoenix Learning Systems out at PowerSchool Academy in June 22nd through June 25th. Because I'm not sure if it's Willie or Richard or the both of you, but they'll be offering 2 courses, Thinking in SQL and Custom Fields to Extension Migration at that academy. So
we will also be at the Psug National Conference in Las Vegas this summer.
Very good. Very good. Well, thanks for being with us today, and thank you again for your patience with getting you on the call. We do this 3 times a year, and we always have more information to discuss than we think we do. So thank you very much. So in conclusion, I'll just put up a slide announcing again PowerSchool Academy. The registration link, here we go. The registration link is available at ps.solutions.org. Again, it will be offered 4 days, Monday through Thursday, June 22nd through the 25th at Capital Area Intermediate Unit in Enola, PA, where it was last year. The courses, a sampling of courses is on your screen, along with a few others, and like I said, the ones being offered by Phoenix Learning Systems, which is Thinking in SQL and Custom Fields to Extensions Migration. So real quick, this is just a screenshot of what the website looks like and where you would choose the drop-down PowerSchool Academy 2015 registration, and then just read through the steps for the registration process. If you have any questions on this, feel free to reach out to any of us at the PowerSchool Solutions group. All right, thank you so much for being with us today. Again, keep us in mind if you need to reach out to us. We're ps.solutions.org. I think that's it. Dave, Cheryl, if you have anything to add, you can chime in now.
I just see that Doug asked a question about when the list of days the courses will be offered. If you go through the registration process, Doug, you will see what courses are offered which days. I don't believe you have to register. You can just click on a day and it shows which classes are offered that day. Am I correct about that, Linda?
Yes, that is correct. And the courses are offered multiple times throughout the week so that attendees can choose one or several courses depending on their availability and their distance from that location. And the pricing is per course, very similar to the way it was other years. Again, if you have any problems with registration, just send us an email at support@pssolutions.org. So it's ps-solutions.org. Okay, thanks everyone. Have a good afternoon.
Are we staying on the call at all, or are we just all hanging up, Linda? Do you want
Yeah,
Dave
we
and I
can
to
stay
stay
on. Why don't we stop the recording?